Carroll.
Here.
Greenwich.
Here.
Manning.
Here.
Cosgrove. Williamson.
Here.
Dewey.
Yep.
McGuire.
Here.
We have 6 and 7 present.
Has a meeting been properly notified?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the meeting is properly noticed.
We have a 10-point agenda. Look for a motion to note that agenda. A motion by Cooley, second by Manning. All those in favor of the agenda say aye. Agenda. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from our June 6th meeting. Any questions or comments? Otherwise, I'll just declare them recorded. Public comment? Public here. Right down to bullet number 7, right off of you, Josh. Sorry, property, yep, sorry. First.
Just a couple things, seal coating for the parking lot will be, or not seal coating, but spraying and sealing the cracks and all that stuff will be done on the 4th. They will be here Thursday. Just got word from this morning, I called him and he turned around, called Mary back and said he was gonna do it Thursday. So on the 4th, and then if he doesn't do it on Thursday for rain, rain dates will be Saturday or Sunday. So it'll be done by the end of the week or this coming week. And so that will be complete. Been out to the campus the last couple days, unplugging all the electrical. Anything that was plugged into an outlet, we unplugged. Just to try to keep anything from catching fire or running or whatever, shorting out. So we went through all the buildings and did that over the last 2 days. So that is complete. Other than that, I don't have anything else. If anybody has any questions?
I don't recall what all's still there. They cleared everything of theirs out. What are you unplugging?
Candace and I were just talking about that. Candace, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
So basically what it came down to was an all or nothing proposal, right? So it was, they were gonna leave everything they didn't want. We couldn't pick and choose what we wanted. So there's still quite a bit out there as far as furniture, computer screens, some old, modems, I guess.
Skeleton's still there?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff still there.
Yeah.
And so Randy and I had chatted and, just to minimize as much as we could, as far as, we left anything that needed to be plugged in,
Right.
stayed plugged in obviously, but anything that didn't, he unplugged. So we were just talking about kind of going and doing another walkthrough, but there's a ton of desks and tables and, monitors and TVs,
So-
office supplies.
Yep, this afternoon, Jason and I did another walkthrough after I had a little issue out there. I unplugged one of their servers and, the server feeds the whole campus, which I did not know that. I unplugged it in the east, I unplugged it in the science building thinking, well, all the other buildings are 100 yards away, right? Well, he calls me up and says he needs to get in there because something burned up. And I'm like, no, I unplugged it. So we went out and fixed that problem, but, we found there must be 7 or 8 flat screen TVs. We found the system that you're looking for, in the Melville Hall in that little conference room.
Yep.
So that is perfect what you're looking for. And he thinks he can make all that work up in your office up here.
Oh, well,
It's
Oh, I-
got a-
not the one for courts. You're talking about a different one now?
This is for you.
Oh,
Then there's another system he found that would work and possibly in the library. He had a name for all of it, but it will work in the small courtroom.
that's what
possibly.
we looked, that's what I was. wondering about.
That's a multi-TV, but then there's a large 70 or 60-inch screen in the Melville that would work for your office also.
Yeah, no, yeah, Barb
So-
thinks my office needs to be wired for more like virtual meetings
It's
over in
got-
that, my conference area.
Yep, so it's
Because
got,
we're having a lot more meetings in there now, so I said.
so it's got hanging microphones that come down and it's got sound bars, the whole works.
Oh, cool.
We found that
Wonderful.
this afternoon.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that we can utilize and repurpose, but again, the thought process really is, until we know what venture is going to be recommending, we don't want to move a bunch of stuff only to have to move it again, so. But we want to, hoping to maybe have a reconfiguration committee meeting, have the committee walk through again, see what's there, and then maybe make some decisions on how we wanna move going forward.
But they've got all that they want out of there now?
Yes,
We
They're
didn't
done.
pay for anything, right? I know they offered like if we wanna buy stuff done.
we don't have to pay for anything. Nope.
Is there anything left in the maintenance garage, like the tractor or snow
So-
blowers or?
I was just gonna go there. They left one of the John Deere tractors, the cab and the Toro. They're both there. The Gator is still there. They came and picked up, the foundation came and picked up the zero turn today to take it up to the smart farm. Because that was theirs. So they came and got that today. Otherwise, we have a 5 or 6 foot brush hog up in the shed, brand new, sitting on a pallet. I don't think it's only been used probably a couple times. So that'll be something we could possibly use at even at highway or
Yeah, I
if
forgot.
they had an extra tractor, they could leave there to use to do the trails there, whatever. So
Lock them up.
Well, that was
I-
my next question was, what's the keys? I know we
I-
didn't talk about the key situation.
I already cut
Hold
the,
on.
I already cut the
You talk,
padlock off.
I will,
Yeah, so I cut the padlock off that was on there and put one of our own padlocks
On the
on,
maintenance shed?
on the shed up behind Simon's.
Storage shed, yeah.
So that is now with our lock, not theirs. Because we couldn't find a key to that lock. So I went up and cut it off and then Candace and I and Darren went out there and we were trying to find out what was in that shed. We have 4 or 5 place kayak trailer, brand spanking new, 7 kayaks, brush hog, the lawn sweeper equipment, stuff like that. There's some of that up there. There's quite a variety of stuff up there. So, yeah, go ahead.
So since there is such a security risk with all this equipment, we do have an employee that we hired on that's gonna work the rest of summer and in the fall to maintain those grounds. He starts July 5th. And this full-time job will be strictly at the campus mowing and maintaining the grounds, which he can be on foot to make everything staying secure, locked up, and who's coming and going from that facility.
Also, we don't know who has keys or.
Correct. So also Candace and I talked about that. I've already got the Copper Top Theater and the Science Building all chained up. Nobody can get into those. They're all chained. So
That's
I
what we
have,
talked about doing. Just chain them.
and we had had that discussion before. So now, I think she's going to bring it up again. We're gonna chain the rest of the buildings. I've got 250 feet of chain and locks and so I think we're going. I think we're
Oh,
going to.
Holy shit. Holy crap.
unmarked, no idea what they go to.
Those are all keys. You can't see. They're all keys.
So yes, that, plus the big giant box of them that will have to go and make sure we secure. So
But they did put,
that's the chains and the padlocks, because we
That's-
don't know
I have
who
all
has
of-
keys.
I have 20 keys or whatever I have in my desk for those padlocks. And we have all of those keys now, so they don't have anything to get in those padlocks.
Randy,
And they're all keyed the same.
with all this rain, have you noticed any big, leaks in any of the roads?
No. We had one valve break in the library. I've got to go fix that because that comes off the drain, off the furnaces. So it was soaking out through looks like an elevator shaft, but it's soaked out into the carpet and it's drenched the carpet. So I've got to go change that because it's got a hole in the valve. Must have froze at one time or just, it was a weak spot in the valve. So I got to fix that. So other than that, there's no leaks in any of the buildings that I could see.
Any more questions for Randy?
you're gonna do the striping once this is seal coated?
No, they're doing it. They're doing everything.
Perfect.
It's all in the bid.
I have a question that kind of be for both of you. During that Saturday episode, when the water dammed up on the west bridge, was there a tree got caught there or something? Because it was a foot below the east bridge. Didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I'll give a report on that when we get to highway stuff from what I
Okay.
put it out. I was actually on scene out there helping direct traffic, get them out of there when we shut down that road, but it was a very odd one to myself as well. How-
But I don't think it did that the last time. We
We've
had
never
the big
seen it.
flood.
We've never seen it do that.
That's why Jackie and I went out there and I'm like, there must be a tree come down and got caught underneath there or something. All right, well, you can cover that in your,
So as far as in buildings, is there any HVAC going on in these buildings?
So some of them have their stuff running, and some don't. Science building has nothing running, just a blower upstairs. Couple of them have air running on half of them, and some of the units don't work. Yeah.
That's mild, you know what I mean, because the mold.
yeah, no, we want to lose control of the environment.
Exactly.
That can happen quickly.
Which, whatever, might happen anyway. If it hasn't already,
Right.
that would be the only thing.
Well, that's the other advantage of having somebody out there every day working.
So with that, do you want me to go out like 2-3 times a week and run water? Because we're gonna have to flush those toilets and the sinks and anything that runs water, because otherwise they're gonna rust up and plug up. We should be,
Same thing with the drains, we'll have to put some
yeah,
water
and
stuff
stuff down the drain. We should be running that water
Once a
2-3
week,
times a week.
once a week is enough.
So
Probably once every 2 weeks is even enough.
I guess my question is, do you still want me to do that? Stop in and do that?
Or
Yeah, we could teach that employee.
you gotta
to do it
make that
because-
part of the guys thing. Just once a week is plenty. When you walk around and inspect, just go by, flush everything, turn a faucet on.
At that Simpson Ford tractor today, I told Bob Simpson, we're ready for University Simpson campus system. And he said, why would I be interested in that? I said, you own every goddamn thing else, why not a campus?
He's going to retire. All right, Josh, go ahead, please.
All right, story, let's start with highway. The story there is rain, rain, and more rain. So this month, that's basically what we've been doing. So let's start with the flooding. Now, during that event that came in on Saturday, late afternoon, the heaviest of the rain basically was from barely north of Richland Center to the south end. Anything basically from Rockbridge on forward didn't get near the amount of rainfall everybody else did. So we did not suffer any major damage or flooding events on that end of the county. Everything was isolated to the southern side. The rain was extremely isolated and heavy downpours, just real spotty. And that's the story of what happened at the campus, as near as I can tell, is there was such a massive downfall on the Bassford Hill that's why that water builds up at the West Bridge. There was no tree, no debris in the way that I could tell, but it was extremely weird, and I've never seen it before. Nobody can recall seeing it that way, that the other bridge never really did go underwater. And then the road that leads you from the Legion up into the trailer park, that stayed high and dry. So I don't know how that.
That's where I checked
I don't know
too.
how that's physically possible, but there was nothing, no debris in the way.
Well, the West Bridge was kind of damming it back and releasing it slowly.
Probably. But then it, it backed the water up across Highway 14 and we had to shut it down. But within 20 minutes of shutting it down, the water was down again and we were able to let traffic flow. Everything was literally just a flash flood. As soon as it would come up, it was going right back down. The only road that stayed underwater for over 24 hours is Highway 58 by Aubrey Corners, because that is designed when that water flow to bypass the bridge and go to that super on would be the south side of that bridge. Yeah, so, but otherwise, no damage in the county except for washouts on shoulder, debris in the road. I stayed in really good contact with Candace along with emergency management, kept them updated as I knew things, as you should have got the emails as well. As we were closing things down and opening them just as fast sometimes by the time I'd get to work. Patrolmen, we had 3/4 of our fleet in. I had everybody checking the main roads, running their sections, moving debris. What we did have is mudslide, rocks, gravel, and treetops is what ended up coming out on the road, and several larger trees. By the time we called it quits that night, it was just after 1 o'clock in the morning when we went home. The last phone call I had taken was about 2:45 a.m. And then the next 2 days was just traveling around and seeing what was still underwater and what we could pull signage. So with that being said, that was the worst of what we had out of flooding. So nothing catastrophic, nothing that bad. County Road I, that is nearly completed. Obviously, we're still waiting to finish a little bit with the rain, but the road is open. All that's left to do is finish cleaning up the back slopes on that big culvert, and that's again waiting for the right weather and when we have windows of opportunity to do so. Otherwise, we're basically kicking our feet around doing little projects here and there, like we got a cost share culvert done for the town of Bloom, or we're waiting to start the radio tower roads, because that's gonna be big earth move, to cut those roads. So again, we need drier conditions to do so.
What are you predicting for amount of time to do that?
3 or 4 weeks per site is what we think. It'll be a small crew that's gonna basically be machinery pushing the earth around, and then obviously we gotta go in there and cut trees first. And then we'll work out the trees with the landowners and what they wanna do, because it's their hardwood, so whatever they wanna do with it, whether we retain it, and then we figure out something to do with it, or they wanna keep it, and then we'll skid it down to a central location for them using our equipment. Let's see here, as far as, like plow trucks, remember we bid out the plow trucks for this year, we ended up, bidding out 4, 2 were left over from the years past, we have received all of those trucks, the last truck was picked up at I-State today and delivered to Universal. The other nice thing, I'm pretty happy about this one, is in December last year, we identified the fact that we were going after a new little boy truck, keep the expenditure below 50,000. And we have waited for the right deal to kind of fall in our laps, and what did. The truck is sitting outside if you want to see it. We got that truck online with the paperwork started for $48,900 from Lakeside for once they actually had a truck and they were able to deliver. Extremely low mileage is 2017 with only 175,000 miles on it, 10-speed transmission, heavier front end, 13.2 I think on the front, and we're 13.5, and then 40s on the rear. So that's an extremely good deal. I'm pretty happy about that. Otherwise, there's not really much else to report in highway except for the fact of it's just wet conditions and we're just trying to keep up with stuff and get things done as we can. Recycling, nothing new to report there. As at major events, the only thing that I am currently working on lining up is the fall hazmat cleanup, the hazardous waste. We'll be working with a company called Viola. It's the one we've worked with many times in the past. I think it's like every other year we do it. I have made contact with them today. We should be able to get things lined up probably for that later October is when we'll have that cleanup. Parks, not much new there except for just maintaining the grounds mowing. Things are being kept up on and doing good there. The fairgrounds, we've had a couple events come through. We've identified some plumbing issues, but I've worked with Works Plumbing to get many things repaired and also identifying what we have in the CIP. We'll be making some updates still this year. We'll be redoing the wells that are, in my mind, extremely bad. They should have been fixed years ago, but they weren't. But now we'll get those fixed up. We'll remodel at least one of the bathrooms by the old milk house, and we'll replace some fixtures and stuff in the bathrooms at the fair office. The grandstands needed to be inspected. They haven't been inspected in years, so I've been told. So I reached out to the school district and found out who they used. They actually do not inspect those kind of stands because they're a metal structure with a concrete substructure. So I'm working with an engineer. It has to be inspected by an actual engineer, structural engineer. So I'm working to get that done. Right now they're saying those kind of inspections take 1.5 days to complete. They will do everything from top to bottom. So I'm working on getting that scheduled. I should have that kind of finalized and maybe a date set for the inspection by tomorrow afternoon. And then just as we were dealing with the keys at the campus, we understand that the fairgrounds were in the same boat. There's a bucket load of keys just like those for everything. So thank you to Supervisor Steve Williamson for getting in contact with one of the last few locksmiths remaining around here. He has already purchased the locks, and in 2 weeks he'll be there to put all new locks around the facility. So it'll be one key to open all doors with a couple sub keys that'll only open particular buildings like the 4-H and so on and so forth. And then I think that's it for report, Mr. Chair.
What's going on down at, I needed to make an emergency stop and I slipped into Ticklegrass, and my great disappointment, I wasn't able to stop there. What's going on there?
Those buildings are being torn down.
Okay,
Those
that's
buildings
fine.
are in far.
Those are the ones you're gonna take it down and put porta potties?
No, those are on state-owned facilities. Those are state-owned grounds. So what we found with those buildings is one, they're in far disrepair and the state doesn't want to put money up to replace them. The well at Ticklegrass also did not pass inspection. So that one has already been removed and capped off. So all that'll be is actually just a rest pull-off area with picnic tables. So those buildings will be removed out of
So
there.
it won't even say wayside anymore.
It'll say wayside, most likely. They'll keep it
Rest-
labeled as it, but there'll be no bathroom.
Rest area, no services or something like that.
I know, like I said, those buildings are in horrible shape. The other thing we noticed is drug paraphernalia. When I used to take care of those, I can even vouch for that. I parked the truck, get out of the truck, and I'd step into a pile of needles sometime. So that's,
Not
Yeah.
in Gotham.
so it's just not good for employees to be in that kind of environment, having to try to clean up after people. And so the state recommended to rip those facilities out, which we'll be accomplishing this year. And of course, at no cost to us, they'll be paying for everything.
No, Mr. Carroll?
After this flood event, you got a quote on design and construction of replacing the bridge. Just wondering what flood event they should be thinking about.
Well, they go off of basically a called 100-year flood event, and then they take the parameters that the Pine River would back up and what the levels of that stream would technically be. It's all of their kind of parameters, above me.
Your opinion, that's your,
Well, I'm just saying, maybe
it's your baby.
they need to think about that again, that's all.
And they do, they follow all the guidelines set by the state as far as putting bridgemen or replacing bridges along with, all the technical data that would support it as far as water pressures and hydraulics for how far the water would travel and what it would build up as. So I'm not too concerned with how they respect the replacement of that bridge.
Well, I know how it's done, I'm just saying that here's an event that shows that bridge did not have adequate flow,
Correct.
so.
Even though it met all their criteria. I know what you're saying. We have an opportunity if we're gonna do something. What's the big deal if we raise it another foot?
If you would like, I will bring that up to MSA to include it, and I'll show them pictures of the water over the.
That's all.
I mean, at the time, raising it another foot is not gonna cost us a lot of money.
We'll see what they say on it. I will pass on that information.
Josh, did you get a call from a Mr. Lenz about the bridges out there? I told him to call you probably 3 weeks ago. His concern, and he asked me, okay, if you're gonna replace the west bridge, the east bridge is so light for capacity, 10 ton or whatever. He was worried about if we had to get fire trucks, how would we do it? Going across that light bridge while that one's out. Guess I didn't have a good answer for him.
Well, at that point, the buildings will not be in use, so I think the risk of fire kind of goes down a little bit. And during the flood event, remember that bridge is posted at 10 tons per recommendation, but it could handle a heavier load in an emergency situation.
He was worried about Simons, obviously.
Right.
And it wouldn't take, I looked at this, it wouldn't take much to put a good base from the high school across there either with that low road as that, would it?
Well, to spec a road like that, the cost of doing a road from the campus over to the high school, again, you'd have to work on zoning with the city, create a road, and then it's probably gonna cost you the same as it is to replace those two bridges.
That was brought up, I brought it up somewhere, just replace one bridge and put a frontage road over to High Drive, which is a city street now. And that would help open up whatever we want to use that valley for.
It would be used more than that second bridge, yeah.
Because we gotta look down with the reconfiguration, we gotta look what we can do in that valley, there's tons and tons of potential there. Can't have them coming across the bridge into the campus site, so we're almost gonna have to do a frontage road off from Hive Drive.
I think the cheapest option for the county is to replace both bridges, doing one at a time to spread the cost out. And then if you'd have to look at what Venture Architect would come back with for recommendation before you determine building a frontage road would be the ideal situation.
Well, Venture's taking care of the campus, I'm just talking about the valley behind it. Have nothing to do with the buildings.
Mhm.
You're gonna have some kind of access road there, and you don't want people coming in and having to drive around the campus buildings to get back there.
Can't that come from Allison Park?
I would sure think the road behind Allison Park ends right at the start of that valley up on the hill. It'd make more sense to bring it in that way because that's where all the new utilities and everything are kind of left.
Wouldn't we have to go across private property to do it up there at that point?
It's a possibility. That's city streets and stuff. That's
I
above
think
me.
it's up to Chad.
I don't remember, he pointed that out. That's why I was trying, I wish he was here because he knows the lay of that land up there. I mean, how
Are they
late was
moving that
that
street right now anyway or something?
Well, it goes to, I think he's pointing at one particular yard that we'd have to talk to that owner of where we would then join that property up there.
I remember him talking about it. I don't remember exactly where it was.
I'll work on it in the future.
Yeah, I was gonna say, at this point,
It's
identifying
a new
what we
point right
need to
now.
fix and what Venture's kind
Or
of.
the reconfiguration.
Yep.
Any other questions on the administrative report? Not monthly paid bills?
Derek, can you put those on the screen?
You lost money. Chased water last month.
I just gotta pull it up.
I kind of started going down through them so you can see it once it's on the big screen.
I'll get you this side, Josh.
Sure. Grand total for this month was $924,671.38. This is not out of the ordinary for this time of year because this is when we had our part of the construction things start to amp up. Some of the bigger ticket items on here is like Westbrook Engineering, routine bridge inspections. We have to have that done, that's state mandated. So Westbrook comes in and they do all the bridge inspections that are on that list to be done in the current year. They do it for the county and all the townships, and then we pay for everything up front, and then the townships have to pay us back for their portion of their inspections. Contact drainage pipe, just what it is, it's drainage pipe, we get it as where we can, when we can. Another big one, I-State truck equipment, that 481,000, those are for the tandem axle trucks, and then next month you'll see one on there for the tri-axle that we just received today. Miller Brad rental fee, 41,500. Miller Brad is the rental fee for the excavator, I believe, the Velco. And we should be nearing the end of that one. I think we only got a couple years left. MSA campus bridges, as we talked about. And then, of course, the infamous County Road O that continues with the SEH for 59,000. And then the town of Henrietta, that was a cost share, 15,388 that we had to pay back to them for last year's culverts repair.
What period of time does that 41,000 cover for that rental?
1 year.
Was that rental or lease to own?
The Cabelco is at least to own from because that was done just before my time. That is one, once we own it, I would definitely recommend from what we've seen on that piece of equipment, part ways with it, sell it, and then I think we just go into a solid actual like year rental program that we do on the loader, because that thing is a costly piece of equipment. We've had structural failure on the boom that they warranty fixed, and then we had a lot of electronic issues on that piece of equipment. So I would strongly recommend doing rental on an excavator that we only really use that one time a year.
Did the boom break on the boom or on the stick break? Where did it break on?
It would be the stick piece that extra roll.
It's
Any questions on the bills paid?
encourage rent, not stuff that we use a month out of the year. I mean, it just don't make any sense to negotiate this shit out.
And I'm a big firm believer in renting instead of owning and keeping the liability low. There is a point though that renting a piece of equipment becomes a hassle because the state does not recognize submitting for reimbursement on a rental piece of equipment. You can only actually get your money back off that at the end of the year through just a recognition. So again, it depends on what type of equipment, how often you use it, and what is the feasibility for getting your money back off of that to make revenue off that equipment. Those are the factors that I weigh in looking at replacement. But I agree with Supervisor Cooey that rental is the best way to go on many big piece of equipment.
Bulldozers always stick out to me. You'll see them set somewhere for months on end. They pick it up and move it, and then it's set somewhere else for the next, you know what I mean? It's just, you just don't use it unless you're building roads.
Just schedule your work for that month.
And the big thing with dozers is their undercarriage. When we use them in heavy sand conditions like we do is when it's time to make sand. Last undercarriage that we replaced was over almost $14,000 worth of work. And I mean, that's a lot of revenue you just kick back to repairs, so.
Now, the unloaders, we're renting them or own the unloaders?
We own one end loader that was, basically, we got rid of the old used one. We kept ours and then we rent one on a yearly basis, and that's through Miller Brad. They honored their price from last year, so we've continued forward with it.
Especially them, they're installed all the time. I hate to see us owning them things.
Yeah, loaders we use day in and day out all year round, and again, we prefer rentals on those. You get the latest, greatest, and full service, because that way if something also breaks, you're not sitting there trying to figure out a replacement piece of equipment. The company that you're running it from has so many hours to bring you a replacement piece of equipment of the equal size, and then they cover the shipping and everything. So, I mean, there's a lot of value to renting as much as possible, when feasible.
Anything else? Any future agenda items? Quiet. Any correspondence, Derek?
Nothing on my answer.
Gary?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by Manning, second Cooley, all those in favor? Aye. Are adjourned. Thank you.
You should have took the bet today.
No. Did we not?
I think it was a new.
So